I know you've deliberately tried to keep it brief, the brief explanations of a programming language. For the listeners out there, like I said, it's so easy to pick up any language you want. Just jump online and there's tons of free material out there, or spend a few bucks for an online course and you'll be up and running in no time. I've heard parents getting their kids into it from like elementary school.
Oh, mate, if you're a parent, do that.
And I think that's a great idea in terms of get the creativity juices flowing, get them building stuff. I think that's a great idea. Sorry, Pius, you were going to say something about that as well?
Yeah, I totally agree. As a parent, like this is definitely what I want to do as a kid. I definitely want to throw them into some coding, and I mean, you can't force them into it. They're either going to love it or hate it. But if they love it, then the earlier the better. I attribute a lot of my success for the fact that I got in early. And to me, in my generation, early was about 14 years old is when I first wrote my first programming software.
Wow, that was pretty early.
Yeah, and that's given me a humongous advantage. When I was at university, I was like a coding god. Any problem the other students had, I was the guy that when someone's stuck on something for 4 hours, I'd come in a few seconds I look at their coding and go, yep, you're missing a semicolon there. And that's just because I've had so much exposure. So getting in early, when your mind is developing, is a really good time to get into coding, because coding is kind of like a pattern of thinking. And once you understand that pattern of thinking, which is what you mentioned earlier, like divide and conquer, once you get that, then the possibilities are endless when learning any kind of technology. So the earlier you get that skill, the better. So for me, 14 years old was early, but these days, that's not even early. There are kids, becoming millionaires because they started coding when they were 12 and they released the first app at 13 or something. So the people out there like that exist. And I heard these days, there are schools that are trying to, I think schools in Australia or America or something, I've heard somewhere they're trying to introduce coding games for kids as early as kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think as time goes on, kids are going to be learning coding earlier and earlier. To be honest, like when I turn 50, I'm screwed. I'm going to be this old guy knowing old code, competing with guys that have been coding since they were, 10 years old. Young, and they're probably going to be 15-year-olds that quit high school and get 100K, like the jobs paying over $100,000, six figures. Like this is going to happen. Like this is my prediction. There are going to be 15-year-olds that quit high school and go into high-paying jobs because it's so good.
I think that might already be happening.
Probably, yeah.
That's interesting. Now, actually, just to digress a little bit, we might have a few kids listening and they're going to be like, oh, that sounds really cool, but I suck at math, or I'm not very good at school, or I'm not good at physics, or any subject. Math is something that comes up a lot. Some people say, oh, you have to be good at math if you want to be good at programming. I'd be interested to hear what your opinion on that is.
Oh, yeah. Math has nothing to do with coding. That is a huge misconception.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd say that. Please go on.
I mean, some things require complex math, like equations and all that stuff. But the thing with coding is someone's already built it. If you need to make a statistical analysis on a whole bunch of data using, some sort of Z formula, like I don't even know the terms anymore.
Neither do I.
There are functions. You just download a library and you go give it this function name, say, sine something or Z function, I don't know. And then you give it your input and then it will spit you out the answer already. So all complex math things have been done. Oh, especially so in university I learned something called matrices. This is very, very advanced maths where
it's sending a shiver down my spine already, mate. But please please go on.
So a matrix is an advanced math concept where you have X rows and X columns of numbers, and based on those numbers I don't even know. You create vectors out of them. You can differentiate, integrate. And matrices are an important part of creating 3D graphics. So creating vectors in the 3D space. And that means X, Y, Z coordinates. And there are special mathematical formulas you need to do if you want to move like a spaceship from one point in space to another point in space at a certain speed, you need to use matrices. You need to have special formula where it takes your x, y, z coordinates, applies a certain speed and a distance. So at speed and time, and takes you to another point. And you also need to reverse that and calculate the angle and all this stuff, right? And I had to learn the very foundations of the mathematics around that. I had to actually, on a piece of paper and a pen, calculate these things. And then I realized when I started coding in 3D graphics, I'm like, man, there are functions for all of this. All I need to do is say move spaceship from this point to that point at this speed, and all of that's done for you. I'm like, why did I learn that stuff in high school? So that's how much I didn't need maths for coding. If you're one of those, like, you want to be perfect and know everything from the bottom up, then yeah, I mean, learn that stuff. But you don't really need to, and you don't need to be good at maths to do this stuff. You just need to pass your university test, and that is all that is required of you.
Right, yeah. Totally agree with Pius there. And a lot of people will often say, oh, I need a high IQ, or I've got to be good at maths to be a good programmer. I'd really like to discourage that type of thinking myself. If you can think logically, if you can divide and conquer a problem in the sense that if there's a big problem and you can break it up into smaller chunks, then you can program. And everyone knows how to do that in their day-to-day lives, whether that's planning a holiday to working out how you're going to cook your next meal. That's all logical thinking. That's all breaking down a big problem into smaller steps. If you could do that, you can code.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
And there's so many different areas of coding. If you're a math inclined, then you'll go towards more mathematical problems. If you're more graphically inclined, then you'll make more moving spaceships, like Pius mentioned. But there's so many different areas, and yeah. No, cheers for that, Pius. I'm happy you said what you said, because there's a lot of misconception out there, especially with development, because there's so many smart kids out there these days. People automatically discount themselves, saying, "Oh, I can't do that because that genius over there is already doing it." But rather than discourage, I'd hope that would encourage you to get into that yourself. So
yeah, one of the best secrets among tech guys, developers, the best secret and also the best kept secret is that it's freaking easy. You know what I mean? People that don't understand coding, they look at your computer screen, man, that's so hard. I would never be able to do that, and they'll throw money at you to solve these problems for them. But it's actually so easy. They have no idea that they can just sit at home on the laptop and they can do what you do. And that's the best kept secret. Every tech guy out there that I know, because it's a good career move, they make things sound way more harder than they actually are. So if you're one of those guys, keep that secret.
well, I wouldn't say it's easy. I'd say it's a lot easier than
What people make it seem.
Yeah, and I think even for someone who, let's say, if you want to get into, say, I don't know, IT project management or something like that, but if you have no coding experience whatsoever, then yes, the developers will keep that secret from you and make everything seem super impossible. But if you, say, learn coding for a few months just for fun and actually understand just what's involved and what type of syntax that the guys get involved in, then you'll quickly realize that, oh, hang on a sec, some of this isn't as hieroglyphical as I thought it was. But having said that, you also get a better appreciation for actually how much effort actually needs to go into more complex problems, and how difficult it is to sort out bugs, for example.
That's true. There's also cases where people think it's a lot easier than it actually is, and you have to explain to your boss or project manager, man, that's a lot harder. And they're like, why? You just need to do this and that. And like, no, that requires a lot of work to make it work efficiently.
Exactly.
So that goes both ways as well.